it's like you know how to do professional interviews.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Maybe we reverse the process and you introduce yourself to everybody.
I could absolutely do that. You mean me introduce myself like saying I'm Janet Varney from Stand Against Evil?
That sounded very professional.
Oh, wonderful.
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. So I'm very new to Stand Against Evil.
Yeah.
I did what every American does now. I watched everything.
Yeah,
and
that's the way to do it.
It's amazing. I'm loving it. I'm excited for the new season.
We have a good time, man. The third season is even crazier. There's a lot of like nods and homages to some of our favorite other shows, which I think is so cool about this show.
Can I ask you that? Because I got a lot of different feels from the first season about where you guys may have been pulling from.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you've heard and what you think.
Well, there's a good, I mean, for Dana is the best person to answer previous seasons. I think because he digs real deep with some of the like 70s, like iconic 70s, like made for TV horror movies and stuff. Definitely Jaws, obviously. That's sort of right front and center. But this season, specifically, we have like two characters who are extremely like Mulder and Scully.
Okay, that makes sense.
We have a Kolchak. We have a Godzilla and Mothra situation with some Mothra twins. We have some Vampire Diaries kind of stuff. So we're all over the place, but in a great way. And so we kind of continue with the overarching theme of the third season, but, you know, it's just such a great opportunity to play outside of that a little bit because we do have, it's a sci-fi fantasy show, so if shit goes weird, it can sort of go back to where it needs to be.
Do you feel the comparisons to older properties like Evil Dead is
absolutely
a compliment to what you guys are doing?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think again, Dana is a huge horror movie buff. He knows Bruce. I think he wrote with or for Bruce at some point. He would know that better than me. But absolutely, I mean that sort of like horror comedy is very. American Werewolf in London is another huge influence for him and for me, just from the comedy perspective. Poltergeist is a super funny movie, weirdly, which I didn't realize when I was a child and saw too young on HBO and was scared forever.
It's so much funnier
now. It is. You're like, wait a minute,
why terrified as a child, and I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah, it's so hard to. That's one where like there are certain things I can see and stay connected to the kid in me.
Yeah.
When I saw Poltergeist as an adult, I was like, I have like chopped off the limb of like being afraid of it, and now I can barely connect with that kid, and now I'm just like, this is great.
I know. I'm like, why didn't my pool have like corpses in it? Like we could have just swam in that.
They were so happy. Those smiling, clinging corpses.
And when you watch it now, you see the pool scene with the hands coming up, and you're like, it's not as scary as I remember. But the fact that you don't see anything and the voices coming out of the television is the scarier part.
That is still scary. It's. I mean, it's that's the Jaws effect, right? Is the sort of like what you don't see is more terrifying than what you do. Yeah.
Also, the comparison between your character and John McGinley's character is John, I don't know if he's channeling 70s to 80s old gruff sitcom kind of guys. Like he has a very Al Bundy kind of feel with his
I think
crassness.
You would say Archie Bunker is in there,
too.
Al Bundy, and then too Robert Shaw's character in Jaws, right?
Yeah.
He's even got like the mutton chops.
He does, and he's very gruff. He's very intimidating. But he's not the badass you think he would be, because he's constantly getting knocked down by every demon that shows up there. It's like one and done, and he's down on the ground again.
That's right.
And you're like, you're expecting him to start kicking ass.
Yeah.
And it's a nice contrast to it, where it's like you think he's going to be this guy who's going to bust through the walls with a shotgun, whatever, and then he's just surly.
Yeah, because none of us know dudes who are trapped in the past who act like they're badder asses than they are.
And then your character comes in very new to this area, very naive, very hopeful, and then quickly after being tied to the tree in the first episode, you're like, nope, can't do this, and I gotta get my hands dirty and not putting up with the bullshit.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely at no time does Evie ever say like, I'm getting out of here, like I want nothing to do with this. I mean, I think she does have that sort of grim, determined sense of responsibility that keeps her fighting and in the game. She definitely goes through a lot more than I would be able to take, but I think, you know, by season 3 I feel like she knows she's there. She knows she's staying. She sort of knows what she is there to do. It's still not easy.
What can you tell us about season 3? Like, what are you allowed to explain?
Well, I mean, I did give you a bunch of references, so I guess we're very safely saying, and the episode that we're going to be watching tonight at Comic-Con is an episode in which we have a giant man in a gorilla suit fighting a giant man in a moth costume over a tiny city. So
I thought this was the Tick. What
yeah, well, that's also great. Anyway, but yeah, so the sort of meat and potatoes of what's going on with Stan and Evie is more about this year Stan realizing that, and I'm sure Johnny will tell you this, but Stan realizing that his approach to life has kind of always yielded the opposite of what he hoped, and whether or not he can get out of his own way. Right, and make good choices, or if his version of even doing that it gets corrupted by his own inability to make good choices.
Before we get out of here, always got to end talking about merchandising.
Great.
So what's going on here?
We got merch. We got merch. There's merch. There's a merch store. Yeah, there's T-shirts.
You got to take advantage of being here at Comic-Con, because Funko's not far from here.
Oh my God!
And they put pops for everything.
Oh yeah.
So walk down there and like, we need some Stand Against Evil pops.
Yes, we do need Stand Against Evil pops. I'll go down and see what I can do.
Please do. Trevor, go down there and make it happen for the lady.
Trevor's on it, guys. No one needs to worry. Trevor's on it. Yeah.
So how much more evil is in season 3? Because it's underlined, and I just want to know.
What
how
if I
much
was like,
more
I
we
don't
could
know,
expect.
I feel like it's less. No.
We really toned it down.
I would say,
a lot of library scenes.
I would say the quote unquote big bad of this season is maybe the scariest entity. And I know I said like it's scarier when you can't see it, but this monster is so beautifully done and so creepy that I was uncomfortable standing near McGinley in this costume, because he's just like,
that means somebody's doing their job right.
He's absolutely doing his job right. The amazing people at Autonomous are doing amazing work with all the special effects, the creature effects and stuff. And then we also have an episode with evil puppets. So like evil children's puppets. I'm on board. Yeah. It's a little terrifying. It's a lot funny.
Especially when they're laying on the table and the eyes go the weird way and you're like, that thing's not alive anymore.
Yeah. Well, get ready, because that is definitely
we're out of time with you.
Thank
you so much
for
it. We really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
We look forward to season 3 of Stand Against Evil.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Stand Against Evil, we're talking to a legend in acting, John C. McGinley. I got to ask you first off, you've been a part of so many amazing properties, all the way from Platoon and The Rock and
Point
Break and Scrubs, and all the way up to here now. What do you find that you're getting most recognized for, and does that annoy you?
It never annoys me. What I get recognized for most is specific to the demographic where I am. So in other words, if I'm in the Southern District of Manhattan, everybody's going to be barking Wall Street quotes at me.
Right.
If I'm doing a talk at a college campus, it's probably going to be Office Space and Scrubs. If I'm, I don't know, Platoon sneaks in there too. I got a bad feeling about that, sneaks in there. But you know, I've been lucky enough to be with writers who write really great 21-syllable lines that pay off, like stuff from Office Space, stuff from Scrubs, from Platoon.
What do people throw at you? Like if they see you walking down the street, what lines are the most common that they throw at you?
Well, first thing they do is a double take, and then I never stop walking. And so my rule with fans is, whatever you want to do, we're going to walk and talk. Just as an old New Yorker, growing up here, nobody ever stops for anything.
Right.
And so we just walk. And so somebody will say, hey, and I'm like, hey. And that's it. I'm gone. I kept walking. You stopped. I kept walking.
That's an old George Carlin bit.
It works.
Yeah, he's talking about it's like they stop talking, you keep going, and then it's up to them to figure out why they're confused.
It's not born out of arrogance. It's born out of being a New Yorker. We have to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
So does something like the con here drive you nuts? Like say if you were walking a crowded floor and people just stop in the middle of the walkway, there's a flow to what's going on, and they just stop and then they don't move.
But we're here to be with people. We're here to talk about Stan. We're here to give gratitude. These people are the reason we're on TV, and that's not lost on me. You know, I was a waiter till I was like 28. I get this is gravy. All of this is gravy.
Let's talk about Stand Against Evil, since that's why we're here. Season 3 is coming up at the end of the month here. I love that your character, we were just talking about it before, is very angry, very surly, appears to be a badass, but kind of really isn't. It makes it very believable, where sometimes where an unfortunate or a magical situation happens, you man up, you know how to work every gun, you're busting through walls, and one shot and you're down by every demon all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's like, that's what a real person would do in that situation.
Look, Stan is a damaged guy. In the premiere episode, we find out in the first 3 minutes that his wife has been killed of 27 years, and his job of 26 years is now he's been fired. Well, most of us, if we lost our significant others and our jobs, we'd have some options. We can either curl up in a ball and not participate anymore. We can man up. We can escape. There's a million different options. And Stan decides he just wants to sit in his recliner and watch the History Channel. But he can't even do that because there's 172 witches trying to kill him. Yeah. That's a good setup. It's like he's telling us his truth.
Yeah.
That he doesn't. It's great that Stan is kind of an anti-hero. And what I mean is he'll do the right thing, but only in the bottom of the ninth, so that he doesn't have to hear about it. Which is a great, that guy's great. He's such a flawed hero. He's not doing it because it's the
reluctant,
right thing.
Yeah.
It's more than he's reluctant. He doesn't want to do it. He's not reluctant. He's out. He checked out. He lost his wife. He's damaged. He's a wounded guy. He doesn't want to go kill witches. I mean, the first witch he kills, he takes a piece of rebar and he smashes the witch over the head 3,000 times. How else would you kill a witch?
In all of your iconic roles, you channel a lot of great anger and surliness into those characters. I got to ask, how much is acting and how much is actually coming from you?
Well, it's funny. I always feel, and I tell actors, that a camera is like an X-ray machine. And when you step in front of it, you're lying from go. I'm not Dr. Cox. I'm not Stan. Those are lies. And so if you can find a way to reduce the profundity of the lie, the camera will suffer the lie less. So in other words, when we did Platoon, we went through that 3-week boot camp, and we didn't eat for 3 weeks, and people were scared, and they were a long way from home. Well, guess what? The guys in Southeast Asia were as well. And so that reduces the profundity of the lie. So when you get in front of the camera and you're Sergeant O'Neill, you're a little closer. And then actors can take that imaginary leap. And Stan is a damaged guy who's dealing with loss. I understand loss. And Dr. Cox was a guy who dealt with a lot of fear, and he didn't want to know anybody know about it. I understand that. And so that in front of the lens goes, oh, right, this guy's telling a bit of truth. And so whenever, you don't have to be De Niro and go, but like when Bob did that was in Raging Bull, he reduced the lie. Bob wasn't a boxer. He became one. And so the lie is reduced. And then that's what the lens sparks to.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Season 3 for Stand Against Evil. We can't wait for it coming out at the end of October. It's great to see you again, sir.
Good to be seen.
Thank you so much. We're here with Dana Gould, and I got to just start off by saying you're talking to two lifelong Simpsons fans, and it's not just like we've been watching it forever. You're talking Tracy Ullman stuff.
Oh, okay, you go all the way back.
I used to VHS tape the Christmas episode and just never stopped. And then the DVDs came out, and I'm like, thank God I don't have to tape anymore.
Well, the third season of Stand Against Evil was directed by my friend Rob Cohen, who was a PA on the Tracy Ullman show, and who was thus the model for Milhouse.
Really?
Rob Cohen is Milhouse. Yes.
And does get his glasses refixed?
If you go to Google and Google Rob Cohen Milhouse, you'll see them both side by side.
Did he used to say everything's coming up Rob Cohen? Is that where it came from?
I don't think he did, but he did get their lunch.
So Stand Against Evil, you're in your third season.
Yeah.
You've been a guy that's been around the entertainment business for so long, writing and producing and doing all these things, but you're also a stand-up comic.
Yep.
So now that you're pretty much the showrunner, well, that's what I was going to ask you. When do you find time to do the stand-up when you're now responsible for a television show?
Well, my schedule for stand-up has changed because, I basically take off May to October because I have to write the show, film the show, and then I have a little bit of time during the winter and spring where I can do stand-up. So I do stand-up half the year, and then I do stand half the year, and that works out pretty good.
Are you at Jay Leno level where you just live off the stand-up money and bank everything else?
I need every goddamn penny. unlike Jay Leno, I have a lot less money and a lot more kids.
Where did Stand Against Evil come from? Was this something that you were tinkering with while still on The Simpsons, or?
I had an idea a long time ago to do a show that was this was before The Walking Dead and before Zombieland and all that stuff. I wanted to like, what if you took Seinfeld and put it inside Night of the Living Dead? And I thought that would be a really funny show. And then I wrote it, and
demons sliding in on one foot like Kramer.
Well, no, the demons the demons are real, but the comedy is just not about that. The comedy is about finding can openers and stuff like that. Yeah. And I wrote it. I called it The Last Larry. I wrote it. It never was made. But I always wanted to do a hybrid show. I wanted to do a horror show that was also funny. And so years later, when I had the opportunity, I thought, well, what if I took a horror show that I loved and just put a character into it that didn't belong there? And in this case, it was like, what if I took the X-Files, but instead of David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson had to work with my father.
Okay.
And he's still in the show, he's still in the world, and you got to put up with him. And that's Gillian, Stan is my dad. I mean, and it took a long time to come up with the most obvious silly example.
Because there's a lot of influence in this show, especially over the seasons. You see where you're pulling from.
Sure.
But one thing I've said, I guess nobody's really kind of hit on, but John C. McGinley's character sort of feels a little Al Bundy-ish.
He's a little
without
Bundy-ish.
the badass attitude.
And the to me, what he is, because he's not like my dad at all. He's younger and a lot more virile. My dad, it's the character changed when John got cast for the better. I look at John; he's basically Quint with a daughter
from Jaws. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at his face, he's got the same sideburns, the same mustache, the same beard. He's just Quint with a kid.
Well, we're running out of time here.
It's been a very hectic show. Quit with the kid.
That was the working title. Throw everybody off so they wouldn't crowd where they were shooting out on the streets.
Exactly.
We're running out of time here. Dana Gould, I got to say, it's an honor.
Nice to meet you.
I'm
man.
enjoying the show right now, but again, lifelong Simpsons fan.
Oh, great!
But it's just an honor meeting you, and I've loved your work. I love your stand-up, and you were one of those guys that shows up on podcasts on the West Coast all the time, and I've really enjoyed your
ubiquitous.
stories. Jay Moore's podcast.
Oh yeah. They're all good. They're all friends. I've been around for a long time. I have a lot of friends.
But it's just great to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. My pleasure. Thanks.